was created out of spite. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It was a mini supercar masquerading as a two-door sedan. Yes, it's windy outside. This is 5 things I love about my BMW M3. Hi guys, what's going on? Chad here from Shifting Lanes. Today we're talking about my BMW M3. Hashtag Team Bimmer, aka the destroyer of Volvos. I gotta be honest, when I first got this car, I wasn't really feeling it. The scale of the project had me feeling really anxious. We had that oil leak that we thought was coming from the rear main seal. We had a really bad power steering whine. The interior looked like it was attacked with scissors and oil. All of this combined had me like really on edge about it. As time went on though, and we started to fix stuff, it became apparent that this wasn't as bad as I had originally thought. That oil leak that we thought was coming from the main seal, well, unfortunately that was coming from the Vano system. The upshot to that is that leaky oil was what was causing the power steering whine. Solved the mechanical issues with this thing for a lot less than I thought it was going to. So once we figured out the scope and what actually needed to be fixed on this car, I started to fall in love with it. And we start with number 5. Personally, I think the E46 M3 is the best looking car BMW has ever made. But it is that rare combination of aggressive but not over the top, subtle but not bland. It's a really good looking car, and the thing of it is though, is you can look at it from a distance and think, oh, it's just another two-door BMW. You get a little closer, you start to see the flared wheel arches, the bulge in the hood maybe. You start to think, all right, there's something a little different going on. And then you get up close to it and you realize there might be something special going on here. The quad exhaust tips, the subtle M badging. You know, it's not overdone, which is really something that's a curse to a lot of modern cars. Too many times designers these days swing for the fences when it comes to their beefed up, more powerful, sporty versions of regular cars. It's not the case with this. Like I said, it blends aggressive without being over the top, but yet you can still notice something special's going on here. To the uninformed, this body doesn't let you on that there's a monster, a Volvo-killing beast underneath there that's just waiting to get out. Especially when you combine it with those VMR wheels. I love those wheels. They're that blend of different, special, without being over the top. It's not overly done with chrome. It's not oversized. It's none of those things. It's perfect for this car, and even though they may be milled and not the lightest things on the planet, couldn't imagine a better looking wheel on this car. Number 4, and that would be the M3's history. With every great car, there's usually a great piece of history or a great story behind it on how it came to be. The GT40, for example, was built for one purpose and one purpose alone, and that was to kick Ferrari's tail up and down Le Mans. Similar kind of story with the M3. You see, back in the early 80s, Mercedes was dominating with their 190e 2.3 16-valve Cosworth. Now, this was an absolute monster on the track. It was dominating the DTM series, and BMW wanted a piece of that action. The DTM is a German domestic race series. It's basically where all the German major players go up to one-up each other. The problem was, BMW didn't necessarily have a car that could compete in the series. Yes, they had their little 3 Series, but the engines were too small and it didn't make enough power to really be competitive against the might of Mercedes. BMW was not pleased, and their CEO, Eberhard von Klugenheim, demanded that BMW's M division make a car that was competitive. Enter BMW's Motorsports division, or M. There was one problem with his plan though, and that was the bean counters didn't think that a beefed up, faster 3 Series was going to sell the requisite 5,000 versions that needed to be built to meet the homologation rules. Well, von Klugenheim were doing this anyway, and he went to the guys at M to build him a car. What they did was throw basically all of the 3 Series away. They updated the suspension, the body. I think only 4 panels of the original 3 Series remained after it. As for power, they wanted to use BMW's straight 6 straight out of their M1 sports car. However, it was too heavy and too long to fit in the car. Solution? Cut off 2 cylinders. Make it a 4-cylinder, making 200 horsepower, and boom, the M3 was born. Oh, did I mention box fenders? Most importantly, it did what it set out to do. It beat Mercedes up and down the track, giving DTM titles to BMW, and on top of it, BMW sold almost 18,000 of these original M3s. Way more than the 5,000 they were supposed to meet the rules. This was the birth of the M3 and the E30 chassis as it was known. I would do terrible things to own one of these things. It is an absolute legend. They're fetching huge numbers now, and if you can get your hands on one, do it, because these things are only going to go up in value. For all its awesomeness, there was one problem with the E30 M3, and that was it was a race car for the road, so it didn't really have a lot of that BMW luxury to it. BMW and all the execs there wanted to fix this problem when it came time for the new M3 and the E36 chassis. The two cylinders that were lopped off were added back, and the car made almost 280 horsepower. However, for us in the States, for reasons only known to BMW, we got one that barely nudged 240 horsepower. The E36 was now a total package. It had speed and luxury. It was the perfect car for BMW's growing performance line. It was more refined, more dignified, so goodbye box flares, goodbye wing, hello, more subtle bodywork. Problem is, it was too subtle, and that's why the E36 is more than likely the least desirable of all of the M3s. The upshot is you can get one for pretty cheap, and they are a hoot to drive. Enter the E46. My baby. Like I said before, this thing looks awesome. It's a great looking car. It now towed the line between subtle, understated, refined, and luxurious with an all-out aggressive body design. You have flared wheel arches, quad-tipped exhaust, the bump in the hood. Very subtle, but definitely does the job of letting you know that this is just no ordinary 3 Series. And what's under the hood? Well, we didn't get a detuned version this time. We got a straight 6, making 333 horsepower, which was more than enough power to embarrass a lot more expensive cars in the market in the early 2000s. Now, BMW would go on to make E90, E92, E93, and now the brand new F80. But for my money, nothing matches the E46. It was perfect for its time. It had the right engine, no fancy forced induction here, and the purity of a straight 6. It wasn't overdone. It wasn't filled with driver aids. It was just a pure sports car. And that's why Road and Track called this car, the E46 M3, the best sports car of all time. All time, guys. Better than stuff from America like the Corvette, better than the Porsche, better than Aston Martin, better than all of them. They named this thing the absolute best. And from where I'm sitting, not hard to argue with them. On to number 3, and that is the sport mode button. Now, I know most cars nowadays have a make my car faster, louder, whatever button. Now, driving the M3 around in just normal, get me to work, save as much fuel as a 333 horsepower, high output straight 6 can save, it doesn't feel like the special car that it actually is. It actually feels more like a slightly more powerful, slightly heavier, and when I say heavier, I mean steering, brake pedal, clutch pedal, etc., version of my IS300. However, this is all fixable with the press of one button. Press the sport button, all hell breaks loose. Much faster throttle response. You got a relaxed traction control system, which lets you spin the tires a little bit more. Press the sport button, it went from a fairly sharp steak knife to a razor-sharp katana, capable of slicing your enemies at a moment's notice. Pressing the sport button in the M3 is unlike most cars I've ever driven. Usually it's kind of subtle. Not in this. You press it, it almost shudders with excitement. It's ready to go. It's ready to beat whatever you throw in front of it, you know, like a Volvo. Number 2, I got 3 words for you. Individual throttle bodies. When it comes to making power in a car, it's fairly simple. Cram as much air as you can, put as much fuel as you can, and that's how you make horsepower. Now, the simple and easy thing to do is to add forced induction. However, if you want the purity of a naturally aspirated motor and you want to up the horsepower, you got to go ITBs. What are ITBs? Well, the modern cars usually have just one throttle body. In the M3, it's got 6 of them. Basically, way more air can get in. They're louder. They make more power. They are freaking awesome. I cannot say enough how cool they are. You have ITBs on your car, doesn't matter what it is. Cool factor goes up to 11. Number 1, this thing's basically a miniature supercar. It is effectively something much more special than the sensible 2-door sedan bodywork will lead you on to believe. It's more than just a beefed up 3 Series. Start with the S54 underneath the hood. This thing is an awesome engine, guys. Now, it may be prone to rod bearings going and the Vanos system just deciding it doesn't want to work anymore. However, it is a high-strung engine. You got to expect some things when you're going with a high-output, high-strung motor. It is 3.2 liters, makes 333 horsepower, which gives it a fairly awesome horsepower to liter ratio. The M3 makes 104-ish horsepower per liter. Put that horsepower to liter up against some more familiar names. You have the Corvette of the era was only 61.4. The Mustang and its 4.6 liter was 65.2 horsepower per liter. You want to put it up against something a little more exotic? How about a Ferrari 360 Modena? That was making 111 horsepower per liter. It's only 7 more than the straight 6 inside there. This thing is a supercar masquerading as a sedan. It's absolutely awesome. That's what I love the most about it. It's that it's completely capable, but it doesn't beat you over the head with its capabilities. And that's it, guys. That's the 5 things I love about my BMW M3. Took me a while to get there. Took me a while to see what she could be. Now I can't wait to get back in it, restore her back to her natural glory, and then go hunting for some Volvo. As always, guys, if you liked the video, please consider subscribing. Share the video with your friends. Smash that like button. All that stuff helps us make more videos like this. Also, check us out on social media at Shifting Lanes. We're absolutely everywhere. We're also on DriveTribe. If you're not familiar with DriveTribe, it's basically Facebook for car enthusiasts. No pictures of dogs, no pictures of food, no pictures of the kids that you just can't stand seeing over and over and over again. It's all cars all the time. It's a great place if you're a car enthusiast. I definitely recommend checking it out. It's been great, guys. I'll catch you next time.